Hey everybody, how are we doing today? As always, my name is Chris and welcome back to Double Barrel Podcast, Single Barrel Blast. Well, tonight we have what looks to be a normal video that I do a lot of. However, though, we're going to add a twist and a spin on it. This time, let's talk about, does more money equal better bourbon or older bourbon? Let's explore that. I have here 5 bourbons across various categories. We're going to talk about each one. And at the end, maybe this will give you guys more insight or more depth into what you're going to find in each price category and maybe break some of the stereotypes or maybe bust some myths out there about money and quality. All right, let's start at the low end here. This is none other than you either love it or hate it, and then you got some weirdos like me. Wild Turkey 101. Now, Wild Turkey 101, you can find it anywhere between $22 to $26, and it's very readily available. You can find it in any state, any liquor store will sell Wild Turkey 101. Now, the thing that you got to realize that I find in this price category, the $20 to $30 price category, 95% of your bourbons, and notice how we just stuck to normal bourbons. We didn't do like your toasted, your French, your honeys, these are straight bourbon, just straight bourbons here. Sorry, I had to think about that one for a second. I was going to say something different. Anyway, Wild Turkey and the bourbons that take up this category here usually are a 2 to a 3 trick pony, meaning that you're going to get maybe 2 to 3 tasting notes. They're not going to be anything super wow. However, though, they are going to have some good tasting notes. Now, for example, Wild Turkey is a 101 proof, hence the name Wild Turkey 101. And it does have some good cinnamon, caramel, and a little bit of oak note. That's all I get out of it. Like I said, it's up there for a lower end bourbon in my opinion. That being said, though, it's not as depth and flavorful, but still good at that price point, which is awesome. All right, let's move now down the line and up a little bit in price. Let's take a look at Eagle Rare. Now, obviously, you can see I've had a lot of fun with this Eagle Rare here. Now, Eagle Rare is considered to be more of an allocated bourbon. However, though, I do find it is not readily available, but you can find it out there. MSRP on this guy is anywhere between $45 to $50. Now let's talk about what you get in this price category. When you're getting to this price category, you're going to start noticing that you're going to get potentially a little bit more age, because keep in mind, for a bourbon to be classified as a bourbon, it has to be aged for a minimum of 2 years. And that's kind of the myth I want to bust. The more you spend doesn't always mean that the bourbon's aged longer, or even that the bourbon's going to taste better. For example, Willet Pot Still is probably one of the most horrendous bourbons I've ever drank in my life, and that goes anywhere between $60 and $75 for a bottle. But at the $40 to $50 price point, you're going to start noticing I seem to find more depth, but at the same time, good overall bourbon, meaning that we're probably going to be finding anywhere between a minimum of 2 to 4 tasting notes, and they're going to be more complex but very forward notes that a beginner or novice bourbon drinker is going to be able to detect a lot of those notes relatively easily. However, though, this is a good price category to be in my opinion. Let's move on up into what I consider to be the most heavily competition category, and that is the $70 to $90 range. There is so much competition out there. It's insane, the amount of competition out there. And I decided to go Spirit Hound. Spirit Hound is around $70 to $75 for their bourbon. And the depth of flavor in this particular bourbon, I can probably pick out about 8 tasting notes in this bourbon. It's that deep. Now, the thing you got to be careful of when you get into this category is you're starting to open Pandora's box, if you'd say, where you have, I'd say, at least 100 options available to you. That's why this category here, now Blanton's is also in this category, and I lumped Blanton's in here Blanton's MSRP is around $80, and Blanton's is good. Don't get me wrong. This is a good bourbon. Same thing with the Spirit Hound. I get about 6 to 7 tasting notes out of the Blanton's. Not as many as the Spirit Hound, but you kind of see the progression that we're going here. But now this is where I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys. We're going to bust a few myths here. I have here Joseph Magnus. Now, Joseph Magnus, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful bourbon. It's worth every penny. However, though, at $110, I only get this many tasting notes. 5. I get 5 tasting notes. Now, my personal opinion is here, when you get into the $100 plus category, be very, very picky, be very, very selective. For example, the Kentucky Owl that I don't have in this video, that one I do get anywhere between 8 and 10 tasting notes. There's a lot of tasting notes, very complex, very deep. But I wanted to showcase the Joseph Magnus because even though it is a solid bourbon for the money, it doesn't deliver any more tasting notes than this category does. I personally believe some of the best, if not the best bourbons come out of this price category, which is the $70 to $90 range. That is the price category that I have found my favorite bourbons of all time. Now, the Kentucky Owl, that's usually like $140. It's the only one that I found that is over $100 that meets that criteria for being that true value for the money. And let's talk about age now. Now, Eagle Rare, this is a 10-year. For $45, $50, we're getting a 10-year bourbon, okay? Blanton's, I've heard it's aged anywhere between 5 to 7 years. The Spirit Hound here, I believe this one's a 6-year. It says it on the back of the bottle here. That's a 6-year. The Joseph Magnus is a triple cast, all right? This guy is aged, from the information I could find on him, he's aged anywhere from 7 to 9 years. And Wild Turkey 101, I believe, is, from, again, the information I could find. Anybody out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's aged anywhere between, 2 to 4 years. So the more money, to sum up, the more money that you spend, it doesn't always mean you're getting better quality, better age, and better notes. So take that into consideration when you're looking at bourbons and their prices. And as always, everybody, from Double Barrel Podcast, never drink and drive, never mix your guns and alcohol. We'll see y'all back here next time on Double Barrel Podcast, Single Barrel Blast. Good night, everybody.